So let's actually, we've kind of been playing here for a minute. I'm going to actually bail out and we're going to go through a real scenario. So Shannon, you're going to come in and I'm going to sell you a Easter basket, okay? So I'm at the cart. Nothing's even happened right this second. And I'm actually going to pretend like I'm in the retail mode just for fun, okay? Are you guys okay if I switch for a minute? Oh, sorry, my bad. So say I'm in this particular page right here, okay? And Shannon, you're not worried about this. This is my screen, okay? You come in and you want to buy a basket from me. Okay. Hello, Shannon. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
Good, good. What can I get for you?
I'd like one of your Easter baskets.
Oh, you know what? We have those on special. No problem. Just a second. I'll get that for you. What I'm going to do real quick here is just go grab our basket.
Wait. Where did you go from your one page?
Okay. Perfect. I was flying, and I probably need to slow down a little bit, okay? So basically, as soon as you learn how to drive Adilas, you are going to be on speed dial. Bam, 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 bam. You're going to be jumping all around this virtual world that you're creating. I'll slow it down. We'll walk through it, okay?
Would you just go back so I could see where you went from the retail dashboard?
Absolutely. Okay, so basically, I knew that Shannon was coming in. If I was going to tie Shannon to the invoice, I would say customer, client, patient invoice, something to that effect. If it's just a quickie, I'm going to say counter sale, okay? So basically, this is a cash ticket. And I call it, thank you for stopping me, because sometimes I just start bouncing all around, okay? So from the retail dashboard, I would click on counter sale, which takes me right into the view cart page, okay? At that point, it's trying to look for a product. Well, guess what? We threw our stuff into recipes. So this is another setting that you can turn on and off inside of your deal, and I basically went like this. I'm switching to recipe mode. Okay, I did that so fast, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Thank you for stopping me, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Okay, we now said, hey, I'm searching a recipe. I'm just going to put a portion of that in there. I know that it's under candy, right? So minimal typing. I know it'll find it. I'll hit search. So I'm leaving my view cart page, and I virtually go to my recipe build homepage, but it's now filtered some stuff. I technically passed in a filter of CAN, okay, for my candy filter. I get here, I'm like, perfect, this is exactly what I wanted to do. I'm now kind of going back into sales mode for a second. Okay, Shannon, yeah, absolutely. So how many baskets would you like?
3.
3 baskets, no problem. So if I wanted, and there was no math here, I could either use my multiplier, or I would probably just go like this personally, okay? Just because it's easy. If you wanted to increment things, you could, okay? So how many M&Ms would you like in each basket?
I'd like 2 M&Ms in each basket.
Okay, so basically what I have to do here is, because I'm doing times 3 baskets, I actually have to go 6. Okay, so you can click as many times as you want, and this is great if you're using fingers or touchscreen or something like that. I'm a mouse person, so I'm going to just scratch this thing out. And how many Snickers bars would your kids like?
Let's do 3 in each basket.
3 in each basket, no problem. So that's 9. Okay, and do they like hot tamales, or yes or no?
2 of them like hot tamales.
2 of them like. And how many hot tamales would you like?
Let's go 4.
4 total? Okay, perfect. So just a second, we'll do this. So basically, what I did, let me hit back for just a microsecond. I said do the build, okay? And what that did is it physically said flush all of whatever my settings were into the cart, okay? I just hit back, so I'm going to go forward right here. Here's my cart that we basically have, okay? Your total comes to $25.60. Anything else you would like to add?
Nope, I think that's good.
Okay, perfect. So basically, you go right through the checkout process just like normal, but basically, virtually, I was able to add all of these pieces very, very quickly. These are all shown items, okay, and they also have price. If I wanted to add something, say Shannon came in and she had a little card, and say she was like, hey, I actually have this little coupon, can you put this on? I'm going to go a roundabout way, but I'm just going to show you a hidden line item for fun, okay? This is totally random and kind of for fun. I'm going to go grab a verbiage line, and I'm going to do advanced add to cart, okay? So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say, hey, let's enable this, no problem. We're going to do quantity of 1. I'm going to actually do a 0 price. I'm going to come down to the bottom right here, and I'm going to actually say, what was the promotion code that you used? Where did you get that from?
From the newspaper.
From the newspaper. And say there was some special code, okay? Say it was Easter News or something like that, just for fun, okay? I'm going to add this. I'm going to come down. I'm going to hide it. Click. That's as simple as I can do. I can say add to cart. So at this point, I now have a hidden line item called Easter News in her cart. When I actually go to print her invoice out, guess what? She won't even see that, but I actually made a hidden line item.
But you did it because that way you could go back and see.
As soon as I attach it, I can search anything that can, literally, you gotta go here. Think Pringles cans. If I stick it in a Pringles can, I can go find it from a Pringles can, okay? You gotta literally think in that level, and that'll help you. You can do it a lot of different ways. Watch this. You can even come down here. You could put it in here. You could put it in a non-printing note. There's lots of ways you can find these pieces of the puzzle. They wanted to talk hidden line items. I just wanted to show a quick little hidden line item, okay? So basically at this point, we're doing good, and we're going to say, great, let's check out. How would you like to pay for this, Shannon? $25.60.
Cash.
Cash, perfect. So you can click it in. It says amount remaining is nothing. Create the invoice. Click. I collect the money, and away she goes with her basket.
So if you put 0 for a quantity, would it show up even though it was in the recipe build?
No, it would not. Let's actually do another one. We'll just do it kind of quick, but we'll do another one. So here's Shannon's things, and you'll notice that there is no hidden line item there, okay? If I wanted to see that, here's how easy I could get to this hidden line item. It's not on the printable. It will be on the edit. There's my hidden one. And it will also be on the show hidden line items, okay? Does that make sense? So now there's my other piece. It's literally attached, but literally you have to think smoke and mirrors in this type of thing. You can do job costing that way as well. So Shannon's original thing was, hey, what if I created this basket for $10.99 and then I just add in whatever I wanted, okay? You could literally have one item show up on your invoice that said 3 Easter baskets, and then you could hide all of these other little sub pieces, and the person who builds it in the back, they actually can see all the hidden, oh, looks like he wanted 2 hot tamales and 4 of these, but the person who gets the actual invoice sees 3 Easter basket specials, $10.99 a piece, and they're out the door with one line item, but technically you just changed all of your inventory doing just-in-time builds, okay? Recipes are powerful. Shannon had a question I'm going to return really quick to do a new one, okay? Watch this. You don't even have to have a cart started, and you could actually use a build. So say I go to the recipe build homepage, and I say candy basket, build prep. Click. This was Shannon's question. She said, if I leave one at 0, does it actually add to the cart? And the answer is no, okay? So watch this. Say we had 3 baskets, and they really like M&Ms, and they really like Snickers, but they only want 1 Snickers a piece, and they do not like hot tamales. Okay, I'm going to skip that one. If I say do the build, I should only get 3 of those pieces actually into the next piece. Do the build. Okay, just prompts really quick as far as what's happening. I jump in. I now only have 3 of those pieces. It existed in the recipe. It's kind of like this. Imagine if you have cinnamon rolls. Do you like raisins or nuts? Well, I would put those into 0 quantities to default. And then as somebody wanted something, you can be as creative as you want. You're basically programming Adilas. How can I get things quickly into there? And we're doing one that has maybe 4 line items. But imagine if, I'm just going to give you an example of somebody who uses recipe and builds. There's a company that uses Adilas, and they do custom work. They basically take a vehicle and they tweak it out. You've seen all those like utility trucks and dump trucks and this and that and this. So what they'll do is a company will come to them and they'll basically say, hey, I need 4 electrical trucks with these and these and these and these features. So what they do is all of these components, like say for instance like headlights and taillights and bumper configurations and stuff, they'll create recipes. So they got 20 or 30 of these recipes that are hugely long, okay? And what they do is they're like, okay, that one's going to need this light configuration. Oh, that one needs this particular box configuration. And so they go through and they just add all of these recipes, So their invoices are quite long, but a lot of the pieces are hidden. So it'll be like, hey, your light configuration, $27. But really it has tons of these different little pieces in there. When the person walks out the door, they see, hey, I got X number of light configurations, X number of bumper configurations, X number of boxes. And then yet in the background, they're fully controlling their inventory because it's all at that detailed level. And so that's where the power of a recipe comes in at. We've just dealt with the recipe and the thing called build and sell. There's a whole nother part which is called build and hold, which is basically where you start manufacturing and you're actually mixing and grinding and creating. And so, but very similar concepts, if that makes sense. It's just done on the PO side. Great.
The next request we had was to go over My Cart favorites.
Okay, perfect, perfect. My Cart favorites, perfect. So often what we'll do is a lot of these guys are, if they're doing My Cart favorites, what that automatically tells me is they have pre-programmed stuff, okay? So once again, just like a recipe, and actually this is a great lead-in. If we're doing My Cart favorites, what it is it's another way to load the cart, okay? A recipe, we could have tons of different things all stacked together. What a My Cart favorite is a miniature recipe, okay? It's a miniature recipe that you can do settings in, okay? So what we're going to do is basically, I have a little quick link over here. I'm on the interactive map. If you're using any other thing, usually, can I show you how lots of people will end up using a My Cart favorite? Often, instead of starting a cart right here or through the quick search or something like this, they'll actually bring a person into the puzzle. I actually have a cart already started. I'm just going to clear it so that everything is brand spanking new, okay? So wherever they're at and whichever the interface, they might be using completely different interface. They will usually search for the customer. And customer is another corp-wide setting. Could be student, patient, client, member, whatever you wanted to do. They will actually come in here and they will actually build it directly from the customer. So they'll start at that level because they'll start things coming in. Lots of times with My Cart favorites, you have options for different categories within that. So instead of just having a standard retail price, which is standard retail, maybe they have members or non-members, or maybe they have visitors, or they have different things. So what they do is they create these My Cart favorites and tie them to these individual customer categories, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually start with a customer. I like Fred Flintstone, and so we'll just go Fred, F-R-E, see if we have, what do we have under Fred? So I have Fred Smith and Fred Flintstone. So basically what they will do immediately, a lot of these people will actually come here, they'll check, they'll make sure that they have the documentation for so-and-so, make sure any sort of status. Like this is actually almost like a check-in type procedure. They'll check to make sure they have everything, and then they're like, you know what, I'm either going to add you to the queue or I'm going to immediately start the cart right for you. Basically, from here there's actually a link, and I just have to read it. I don't do this quick enough. New cart for current customer, okay? So if I click on this right here, click, basically it immediately pulls Fred into the cart, okay? By default, the other things that it actually brings in is it also tells me which kind of type he is. Fred is under a normal type. So if you had members and non-members, it automatically pulls this stuff in. So often people will end up being able to access their cart favorites right from the cart, okay? You can access them from totally different ways, and it depends on if you're setting them up or if you're literally trying to kind of manage them in a speedy setting. They'll click on My Favorites, and it'll drop them into these different little favorites that they've set up. This is a play site, so this looks totally random, and you might, what? But it's really not a big deal. If we wanted to actually do some stuff, here's a Snickers bar one. We click it, bam. Basically what it did is it added 12 Snickers bar at 80 cents a piece for a total of $9.60. That's pre-programmed into that button, okay? So there's one thing to use My Cart favorites. There's another thing to actually know and program. To use them, they're fairly simple. Why don't we, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually create a button, and I'm going to call it Candy. And then I'm going to nest some other buttons underneath that, okay? Just so you can kind of see how we would technically set up My Cart favorites. Does that make sense? Okay, so basically we have a cart here, and normally this is how they would come in and start playing. I'm just going to leave my cart. It's in virtual memory, so it'll keep holding it as long as I don't time out on my session, which is a 2-hour window. So I'm just going to go ahead and come home. I'm going to go into My Cart Favorites. I actually have permissions enough so that I can actually do some stuff. It actually says, hey, just so you know, you still have a cart. And Fred's in there, and he's actually the normal type. So depending on normal, to me, might mean something, but to somebody else, they might have it under VIP. They might have it under gold status, whatever, okay? So basically, I'm going to be building. So what the first thing I'm going to do, if I'm doing a basic button like this, like a group, I'm going to just say, I want to just add a favorite, okay? I'll just click on it. It gives me a bunch of options. There's a great help file here as well as on the My Cart Favorites homepage. There's some good stuff there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want a group button. I'm going to call it Candies. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of come down. There's a bunch of different pieces you can do, and this is where you can really tweak out your settings, okay? Let's say the candies are going to be my purple color, okay? You can come down. Right here is where you get to tie this to a certain type. If I only wanted to tie a button to a type, I can set it up right here. I can actually have barcodes for buttons. Like literally you could basically pre-program these things, and instead of actually clicking, you could have it tied to a barcode, and if you have your, it's once again just settings, if you have your pieces set up, you could technically beep, and it does whatever you pre-program that thing to do, okay? So like you can tweak this way out if you really wanted to. Okay, we're just coming down. We're going to say yes, I'm going to allow it to be shared. You can make it private. You can do sort order. You can literally stack these things wherever you want them to. And because I clicked on group, I have to now choose something from option 4. So as we come down here, option 1, basic search criteria. Option 2, exact. And you can really tweak out exact because all of a sudden we know what you're dealing with, okay? Option 3, do you want to tie it to a recipe? Or option 4, do you want to make it a group? And I'm going to say, hey, we're going to make it a group, and we are going to do a button group, okay? Fairly simple, and I'll say add to favorite. So at this point, I have one that we just created called Candies, okay? And it has this little icon saying that it's going to be a button group. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add my candies underneath that. So instead of doing a basic button, I actually want to tie it to something. I'm going to do a search and add this time. I'm going to click on search and add, and basically I'm going to do my first one as my hot tamales, okay? So I just kind of put in part of my part number, and I say search. I'm currently on the search and add to My Cart Favorites. This looks like a general inventory search page, very similar. It does the search, comes back, I find my hot tamales, I see a little link here that says add to favorites, okay? So what I'm doing is as soon as I click on this, I'm virtually going into the add edit cart favorites, but the cool thing that actually happened, I'm going to kind of scroll down for a second, is it said, oh, I know that you're actually already in the exact mode, okay? Because I already selected that particular item, it says, okay, cool, I'll play. I know we're already doing exact, okay? So what I'm going to do right here is I can actually name this whatever I want. This doesn't have to be specific to the, you actually have 2 different lines that you can name your products on, okay? I'm just going to kind of simplify mine, and I'm still going to keep it as a simple button. You'll notice I switched from group to simple. This is actually going to do something. And then I'm going to say, choose your category. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to leave it general. Choose your display group. Now watch this. I'm going to say, guess what? You're going to be under candies. Does that make sense? How we're kind of starting to play with a grouping? Okay, do we want to stay with purple? Is purple kind of going to be our color? We'll just, for fun, say we're going to stay with purple, okay? I'm going to come down. I could even barcode this so I could even get directly to it instead of going deep, deep, deep.
What does your sort order mean?
Okay, perfect. So you can see how it says a default of 100. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, and you're going to want to read the help file on this and it'll explain it, but in order to have, hey, these are my favorite buttons, well, what if you don't want something alphabetic, okay? You're like, you know what, I always click on this one. So you basically would move it up to a higher sort order, and basically you can override any sort of alphabetic or any sort of category sorting. And so you're going to want to read the help file. But basically what it does is it's a numeric value, and you literally are manipulating the sort piece of it. Go ahead.
So what does it get? So every time you hit on it, it keeps giving it more preference?
No. Everything is 100 by default. So by default, it's like just slam them in there. When you actually get to the point where you're like, okay, I want to tweak these out. Oh, I want this one in front of this one, and this one's got to be stacked beneath this. We have a whole other section that's called bulk sort. And basically what you can do is you can go in there and you can actually detail which categories, how do I want this showing and displaying. Like, it's basically the sort order is totally just display. It has nothing to do with the physical thing. It's just where does it show up. Okay? And by default, everything's 100. That way you can go up or down without being like, oh man, now I have to change everything to like, if you started at 1, there's no way to really go before that unless you change everything else.
Right.
But if I start at 100 and I'm like, you know what, I just need to be in front of that guy, I could go to 90 and I'm in front of it, or whatever I needed to do. So it gives you some, that's why we started at 100. Okay? Great question. So just to kind of review again, we already found the piece that we're going to do. It's hot tamales. It got brought in. This is kind of technical, but just what happened was the reason that we knew that it got brought in is it actually has a whole bunch of pieces that are coming into the page so that it knows how to load these product ID numbers. This is a hidden number that's kind of behind the scenes for hot tamales. Okay? Boom, hot tamales. I said I want to put it under this display group of candies, so I'm nesting it. I said purple color, and we're coming down. We're now going to go into option 2. Now at this point I have a number of pieces that I can choose. Now that I know that I'm in option 2, I have the product ID number. I now get to choose, do I want to just show it? Do I want to show the page? Do I want to automatically add one? Do I just want to open it in the advanced add to cart? Or do I want to tweak it out? What would I like to do for this particular one? Shannon, I'm going to turn to you. You tell me where we want to go for this particular one. We're on hot tamales, and this is under the main candies group. We're creating the button for this. Once again, this is like coding. This is almost like a miniature recipe for this button.
Well, since hot tamales are a favorite around here, we probably should add a certain amount.
Okay, so if we want to add a certain amount, piece of cake, here's what we do. Custom. We then start going through the custom settings. You'll see how everything is kind of built into almost like an outline format. So if you clicked on 2 or 3, you could just go right to the bottom and say submit. As soon as you say custom, it's like, okay, what? So what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to directly add these to the cart, or we could pass them to the advanced add to cart. We can choose. Okay? This one right here is very interesting. If we wanted to make it, so here's where it gets kind of interesting, especially for passing values to the add to cart. Often people will go like this, 0, because the quantity may be unknown, but everything else is known. Does that make sense? Maybe they have a specific member pricing or a specific this, but they're like, I don't really know what you're going to get. They might prep it with 0, and then basically if they land on advanced add to cart, it'll prompt say, what would you like? So it's kind of a little workaround type thing. We're going to pass values directly to the cart, so we're adding them directly. How many does each person get? When we click on this candies button, how many are they going to get? And you got to kind of think of like, what are you trying to do here? Okay. So we're clicking on candies, drilling down into, then seeing the different kind of candies, and when I click on them, like ideally it would probably just be 1, but for our thing, if we're going to choose custom, let's make it 10, okay? Boom, you're going to do 10. Now you have a bunch of price settings. You can do fixed per, you can do fixed extended. This is where you get to tweak it out. It's currently at 85 cents per, okay? Does that make sense how there's a bunch of different settings there? Any questions on that? Okay, the description, you can see this looks very similar to a recipe, okay? You have price settings, you have this, you have you have a bunch of these things. This is for a little teeny button. You're basically tying a miniature recipe to the button. Okay, so the price settings, the descriptions. Are you okay with that description? Okay, you could technically tweak it if you want. So right here it says choose a tax category. It says by default this one happens to be taxable. So
a discount because they're getting 10.
Okay, so say this is actually, let's say that this is a resale thing. So say that the person needs no tax required, okay? So, but the default, if I sell a normal hot tamale off the store, it's taxable. But maybe I'm setting this button up to be 10 at a time resale.
Okay.
And we're just faking it here once again. Right. Normally you would actually really have a real goal.
Right.
Okay, so basically to kind of review really quick,
She said she wanted to give him a discount, so you go back to where it was
Okay,
the
so
price.
correct.
And you could make it to 80 cents instead of the 85. Right?
Perfect, perfect. I love it. So just let's recalculate real quick. Simple button. We name it. Okay. We categorized it right here under the grouping. We colored it, and then we came down to our specifics. We said custom. We said we're passing values directly. We're doing this, and it sounds to me like you guys are saying we need to give this person some sort of a price break. What's the price break going to be to?
75.
75 cents? Okay, great. They're going to be happy. Alrighty? So basically we said, hey, we're setting it to a fixed. A lot of our people that are sometimes using this, and it depends, they'll actually click it here, and they'll leave an unknown quantity, but they're like, I always sell this for a certain amount, like depending on what happens. And so they might be using this other setting here. And what it does is it basically does reverse math for you. So the total price per says that I eventually need to get to this price, and then depending on how much quantity, I'll back it up. Like, does that make sense how it kind of back up some stuff for you? Yeah. So a lot of people do that type of thing. We're going to just do it this way. We're going to say, hey, 10 at 75 cents. We're going to knock it in there. We're going to call it resale, and we're going to skip these other two options because we were in option 2. Okay? We're going to say add to the favorites. So what happens right this very second is currently if I click on candies, this was our main one. We should have one underneath it called hot tamales. Okay? If I click on hot tamales, it should automatically add 10 at 75 cents to my cart. Okay. Did I must have passed, did I tell it to pass it to advanced add to cart?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't remember. I thought I was just going to pass it right to the, I'll have to go back and check that setting. But basically what it did is it said, hey, resale, 10, 75. It kind of pulled all the pieces in here to the advanced add to cart. Do we want to advanced add to cart or automatically add?
Automatically.
Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is it technically hasn't even hit my cart yet, okay? And because I have the permissions, I'm going to go change that. I actually want that to directly add it. So I'm going to go home real quick, and I'm just going to go My Cart Favorites. And basically I need to get into edit mode into this guy, but he's actually deeper than this. So I'm going to come up here to the bulk sort. This is one of the fastest way to find everything, okay? Now I'm going to kind of just come down here until I find the one called Hot Tamales, and I'm going to click Edit. Because he was actually deeper, he was kind of down a little ways. So, option 2, custom. I must have switched it. I actually want a direct add, okay? That's what I wanted, and we're going to tweak that out. We're going to say Edit the favorite, and do it. So now, technically, inside my cart, I have nothing, okay? I have one little thing. We've added some Snickers because we clicked on a different button to add this. So if I say My Favorites, and I click on Candies, and I told it to nest it, so now underneath that I have Hot Tamales, this should automatically add 10 right to my cart. 10 at 75 under Resale. Does that make sense how that button totally did it? Yes, go ahead.
We've got just a couple comments. These might be in between your
Okay,
things.
okay, great.
But John's comment was that he has an empty cart and he still has to clear it before he can log out. Is that something?
It's basically, that's to help you, okay? Like, if you have a cart that started, what it is it's virtually a container where you can stick stuff in, and we don't know what it really has, but if you go to log out, it's kind of like, somebody started me. Like, it just needs, it's prompting for action. Did you need me to save that? Did you mean to check out? Did you mean to clear it? It just asks for action, and that's just kind of, it actually has saved my bacon before. Like, even right now, we're mixing and we're matching, and my cart's just sitting there, and I'm building it over time. But if I oh man, I got to go right now, and I click log out, if I logged out and I never did anything, the cart, all it does is it virtually puts it into memory. Okay, so it never really exists. So say, for instance, you had a major electrical failure or something like this, and your whole system dies, and you hold this and hold this and hold this. Well, if you actually have to log back in, it has no clue that that is established. It's basically, oh, I just got dropped. It's virtual memory until you say either save or check out. That's what a cart does. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, and he's got a vendor comment as well, but we could probably finish My Cart Favorites.
Okay. What's the next question that we have? I just want to make sure what else did they want to see on My Cart Favorites? Did you want to build another one?
Yeah, that was from Santiago. And
okay.
Let's see, did you have anything else that you wanted us to cover on My Cart Favorites? Santiago's still on? And then maybe while they're responding, John just mentioned, can we make adding a new vendor easier? It seems like we have to go through a lot of redundant steps.
Okay, great. John, if I was going to be a power user and I wanted to just check for a vendor, what I would do is I would go like this. From the quick search, I would select vendor and I would type in a portion of that name. And if you wanted to, like basically I would do a search right off the bat. Like I don't even go to the vendor homepage and then do this here. If you learn how to use this quick search, and if we talked about this virtual world of Adilas, your quick search is how you run around. Let's just say that there's going to be one called John Cannon. Say he's a vendor of mine, okay? So I'd just type in a portion of it, and I'd say, bam, do I have anything under JOH? Nope, I don't. Add it. Like I'm right here instantly into the ad process, and all I did was hit one little quick search thing. Okay? Boom, you're in it. Now this particular vendor, he happens to be a person rather than a business, and you can see how this or is here. It says enter a business name or a first last name combo. So usually it's an either or. So John's somewhere in Denver, and he's in Littleton, and I'm going to go CC to kind of pop through that. I'm using my tab key to jump around, and his zip code is this, and then I pop through asterisk, 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 skip, 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 and he is active. Add the payee. Boom. Okay, am I doing a PO or an expense? Like it could be that easy to add that new vendor in, and instantly it's into at least the vendor is in. So if I were to do a vendor search right now, you can see that here's his vendor ID number. Okay, so if I do a JOH like I did earlier and I hit go, bloop, here he is. Okay, what do we want to do? You want to see his recent activity? You want to edit him? Do I owe him money? This actually goes right to payables for him. Do I want to create something new? There's a ton of options. Once your vendor gets in, you can fly. You can fly pretty quick. Hopefully that kind of answers that question.